Good morning and welcome to a place called Colliers Moss, which is just local to where I live. This place is a park that's built on an old coal mine. There are a number of places around this area because the town where I live in, St Helens, was a big industrial area over the last 100 years. There was a lot of manufacturing went on, and a lot of the products that we used to create used to go out to places like Manchester and Liverpool and out to, you know, all the country. And what happened was obviously when the industry closed, you know, over the last 30-40 years, a lot of the places like this were left derelict because they were remnants of the old coal mines from the old and the production of coal. So all the things that used to come out the mines that wasn't useful used to get, you know, dumped into the land. So what they did was obviously there's been money ploughed into places like this, and they've created these wonderful places, these parks that us photographers can come and photograph. The video I did a couple of months ago, I think it was like November time, was a place called The Dream, which is built on the old sort of manor colliery in. It's just over there now. It's just literally 20 minutes walk from here, and this place here is built on the old Bold colliery, which there was probably hundreds of collieries around here at the beginning of the century. There's now very few, and it's created a wonderful park that we can come and photograph. One of the reasons why I wanted to come back here today is because last week I wrote a blog post on my website about my first ever shot, my first, essentially what I would call a keeper, a shot that I'd taken, got out to taken, that I thought I was really happy with. It was the first shot that I was really thought that I'd got the technique right, and I got all the image right as how I wanted to do. And what happened with that image is it was part of a college course that I did in my local college just down the road from here, and because what I'd done at the time is I'd literally bought my first digital SLR camera. I'd played about with cameras probably, you know, growing up and through my childhood, and obviously I played with film cameras over the years, but I'd really never done it in a serious way, and picking up a digital camera was like that first step into picking up photography properly. And one of the things I loved about digital photography is that you could literally take a photograph, you can see it on the screen, you could rinse, repeat, and that's what a good process is for me. I basically repetition, rinse and repeat. So basically take the shot, if you're not happy with it, take another shot, and perfect, you know, the technique of taking a certain image at a certain time. And you know, it's a fundamental thing that I really enjoy. It really made my photography what it is today. So that, obviously, going back to the digital camera, the one thing I learnt about that college course is that I learnt about fundamentally two things: light and composition. Composition being the most important thing that I really learnt. And the one thing I learnt from that course was I did that before I actually started to learn how to use a camera. And as a beginner, you know, it really made my photography different. I think composition is probably one of the most important things in photography, especially landscape photography, because it turns, you know, a very dull looking photograph into a very nice looking photograph. And you quite often hear vloggers and photographers like myself talking about composition and how we use, you know, things in the foreground to make a better photograph, or we may use a leading line to capture a photograph, or we might use you know, the thing called a reel of thirds, where you split the camera into three sections, 3x3 section, and you would use maybe a top intersection to put you know, one part of the subject, and then a composition to use put another point of the subject into the bottom third, and you'd use them thirds to pinpoint certain parts of the image that you wanted to you wanted to focus on, and essentially will be your focal point of the image. And so if there's anything I could stress to a beginner photographer, is go out and learn light and composition first before you actually pick up the camera. It's made me such a better photographer, and it's something that if I was going to start up 15 years ago like I did, it's something I would really recommend you do. Watch videos, read books, look at how other photographs are composed, and learn about the composition before you actually worry about the settings and the camera. So for this shot here, I've got this sculpture in front of me. It's looking a little bit older than when I last saw it all those years ago, but it's a sculpture that's obviously treated as a bit of foreground interest, and then what I'm doing is I'm using the path to lead us up to the bridge at the top. That bridge is over the railway, and it makes a nice little focal point. The one thing I'm seeing at the moment is I am getting a little bit of definition in the clouds, which is a nice thing to have. It keeps going from being dull to getting bits of blue sky. So what I'm going to do with this shot is I've set it up obviously with this composition using the path as a leading line. I think what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to obviously pop on my I think I'll pop on the ND filter, maybe a polarizer, to see if I can get a little bit of blue out of the sky. The sky's looking quite nice at the moment, so we'll see what we can get out of the shot. Yeah, that's the shot taken now. What I'll do now is I'll pop it up on the screen for you to have a look at, and I'll put the old one on as well for you to have a look at, the one I took 15 years ago, and just tell me what you think. I think one of the reasons behind this vlog today, and obviously the reason behind the blog post that I wrote last week, is that to stress how important it is to look at your old photography and have a look at how you improved. If you're ever going through a lull, or you're going through a point where you just don't feel inspired, have a look at your old photographs and see how much you've improved. I can tell with looking at that shot compared to what I've done over the last 12, 18 months, that my photography has improved massively by just going out more and shooting. And it's something that I made a little bit of it was a resolution, just that, a promise to myself to go out more shooting, and that was about 18 months ago. And I think that my photography's improved so much by doing that. But also, the one thing I've done is I've looked at old photographs that I've took 15 years ago, and I think that it was, looking at that has inspired me to think, well, my photography has got better. There's times where I'm thinking, I've come home with a load of blurry shots, and I'm thinking, God, my photography is awful. And I've looked at my old photographs compared to what I'm taking today, and I'm seeing so much of a difference. So it's worth looking at your old photographs, and if you've took a photograph that's 15 years ago and you think it was awful, maybe go out and try and recreate that photograph and try and improve it. If you took a shot 2 weeks ago that you thought wasn't very good, go back out and see if you can try and improve that shot. Learn better techniques, learn different ways of doing the shot, but always learn. The one thing I've learned about doing photography is it's about repetition, rinse and repeat. Take the shot, repeat it, keep trying the shots that you want to take, keep trying and keep improving. And if there's anything I can give to anybody, is improvement is the way to do it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pack my gear up, and I'm going to go and have a nosy over the bridge to see if there's any compositions near the bridge, or if there's anything I can take looking at the bridge. I did see something before where I could see going up towards the bridge, which looked quite nice, but yeah, so what I'll do is I'll pack my gear up and I'll see you over there in about in a few moments. So for this second shot, I've come over the other side of the bridge. I'm using the two sides of the bridge as like a leading line into the main structure of the bridge here. I've popped on the 10-stop filter to see if I can get a bit of movement in the sky, but I'm really struggling at the moment because although the sky's moving quite fast, there's not a lot of definition. It's just grey and flat. So I think for longer exposures you want a little bit, sometimes you want different clouds, and difference in clouds. Having a completely flat sky can obviously make a longer exposure harder, because you're just literally getting the same thing flowing over as you're going. So I've popped the 10 stop on. I was going to see what definition I've got. I've also got my ND, my 3 stop ND on it, 0.9 grad, and it's to see if I can bring a bit more definition out in the sky. It's looking like a monochrome shot, this one, like a black and white. But I'm gonna just gonna dial the exposure now. Yeah, so what I've done with this shot as well is I'm struggling to get a little bit of definition in between the ground of the bridge and the sky, because there's a massive difference in light and exposure for both them things. So what I've done as well is I've exposed it by about a stop or so to see if I can get a bit more definition in the sky. So what I'll do is I'll take the shot and I'll pop it up on the screen for you. So I hope you enjoyed that little walk around this area. It's called Colliers Moss. It's a nice little area that's just 10 minutes down the road from me. And it's a place that I can visit quite often, so I might be back here in a future vlog. So if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe below, and hopefully I'll see you next time.